so for this week's focus, we're really going to practice the legs in the supine position. So I want you to get comfortable with a tuck drape and a diaper drape, maybe even a little bit of a secure diaper drape for movement of the leg, and then just kind of a little bit of supine leg massage. So let's get started. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and first I'm going to get the blanket out of the way. Again, I like to do that accordion drape, especially making sure it's kind of doubled over in that kind of femoral triangle. And then I'm going to work with my down body hand to the knee. Up body hand is going to come right around the greater trochanter of the hip. Again, when I do that accordion roll, I never lift the sheet above the leg. So the client can always feel the sheet touching their leg. It's never going to lift up and create any sort of a draft. So I bring this over, I slide it up just slightly, okay, so that there's a little bit of movement in there. But again, notice that sheet's always touching the leg. And then I'm going to bring this part down and around to the foot. Now, because of that accordion drape, I know right where the edge of my drape is. So it's really easy to take my up body hand, down body hand slightly under the knee, and then up body hand is just going to come and do a gentle tuck. You don't have to do a crazy big tuck or long tuck for just a simple diaper drape. Now, again, this isn't a full leg drape because the actual attachment to the quadricep group and the vastus muscles is going to be all the way up here into that ASIS. So I need to take this, just give a gentle pull here so that they feel security into that inner thigh and adductors. And then I'm actually going to tuck this under the small of the low back. So I'm not going to tuck it into the hip, I'm actually tucking it underneath the low back. And now it gives me plenty of access to go in and do that work all the way up and into the attachment. Okay, to come out of that, I'm going to go ahead and just untuck down here and bring the leg out. Okay, it's going to look the same way with a tuck drape. So down body at the knee, down up body hand at the greater trochanter of the hip. I bring it across the leg, sheet always touching, slide it up just gently. And now this just above the knee, all I do is just give it a tiny little tuck. I am literally, if the knee is right here, I'm right on the other side of that. And I'm just giving a gentle tuck on the other side of the bolster for that security. And then I come, same thing, I pull it up slightly and I make sure to grab some of the excess from the side to just do a gentle tuck or two. You don't have to tuck 15 times to get it to secure. 1 to 2 times is good. So again, now I have that leg available to do the work. Okay, so I'm going to go back into a diaper drape just because I'm going to show you the added security if you were to want to incorporate a little bit of movement with that. And you'll definitely get into that in some second level classes. Okay, same. Review last time. Down body hand at the knee, up body hand at the greater trochanter. Bring it to the side, never lifting the sheet. Doing a nice little gentle pull so that you have some up here to go into the low back. Come right here, down body hand lightly lifts just above the patella. Now that I know where the corner of my drape is, now this time, I'm really going to pull my tuck a little bit more, okay? Meaning I'm going to pull this portion of the sheet, but I'm going to pull it from the bottom. Notice that the top of my sheet doesn't move. So I'm going to pull it at a diagonal out this way, not up this way. I'm going to make sure it's past the knee, and now I'm going to come right under here and give that tuck. And I'll show you just a little bit towards the end. The reason for doing that is just to add a little bit of extra security with movement. Okay, so going in again, paying attention to body mechanics. It's really easy to get lazy with your body mechanics when you're working with the leg. So I always like to work with my effleurage, a nice long gliding stroke, just nice and light to start for that kind of application of your lubricant. And it's also a really nice way to just get some assessment of what's happening in the leg. So notice if I were to start all the way down here, I wouldn't reach because again, as soon as you start to get lock in the elbow, it translates right up into your shoulder. So I'm going to make sure to move up into my asymmetrical stance for that effleurage stroke. If I want to then switch over to a petrissage, I'm going to stand a little off to the side just so you can see, but normally I'd be right behind my stroke. I'm going to switch to my symmetrical stance, and I'm going to move and glide my body back and forth with my stroke. So I want it to look like this, not this. This is all the movement coming from my upper body, and your client's going to feel the difference in that translation. This is also going to help you to eventually get a little bit more pressure if that's what your client wants. So notice again how I shift my whole body weight. Then I come into a nice knuckle spreading stroke. I'm kind of switching my strokes up. Are you doing okay with this pressure?
Mm-hmm.
Notice how I slow down the pace and the rhythm of my stroke. Trying to follow that fiber direction. Vastus intermedius, rectus femoris. Going off a little bit to that lateral side. Really nice to use the forearms here, but always make sure if you're using the forearms with the legs that you're not just disconnecting with your mother hand and letting it float out here or holding it at your hip. You can make a nice connection right onto the arm or onto the client's leg. But I like that connection coming in this way. And again, notice I'm not on my tippy toes and I'm not on top of my stroke. I'm behind it and leaning into it. Trust me, you're going to get more balanced, consistent pressure that way than you are trying to just muscle and push versus leaning and using leverage. You can use this arm to get more on the lateral side. However, I really suggest being careful with this when you start to add pressure, because more often than not, I see this and it comes from the shoulder, and down the road, you're going to wind up with a little bit of tension in your own shoulder. If you do want to utilize this arm, notice how I'm bending that front knee to get there. So if you watch my upper body, it's staying pretty much the same, and I'm doing kind of that soft side lunge to get there and to come back. So you can utilize this arm. It's a little more of a relaxed stance on my body. And then there's other ways that you're going to learn in future classes as well, how to utilize really getting into that lateral side leg without compromising your body mechanics. So I'm just doing some good spreading now, incorporating not just the top of the leg, and making sure ASIS, my client's ASIS is right here. So a lot of those quadricep attachments, you can kind of do even a little bit of compression over the sheet, but don't ever fall short and stop here because you're missing this much of the muscle. For a nice elongation or deeper effleurage stroke, you really want to make that connection. You can also come crossbody only if it's available in your upper torso and you're not reaching over the table too much. But this is a really nice way. I sunk into my symmetrical stance. So if I were straight up with my knees locked, I would be moving solely from my upper body. But I sink into it and I'm going to shift my weight back and forth. I'm pulling up on that kind of lateral portion, TFL, into that IT band, vastus lateralis. And then you can even do some really nice kneading and petrissage in here. And I'm really kind of pushing. This is also a really good torsion stroke, S stroke, because I'm creating a twist or torsion in the tissue. It kind of creates that S. That's what the S stroke means. This is just a broad version of it. So I'm kind of pushing with the heel of my hand and I'm pulling up with the fingers. This can feel really nice for someone, especially if they have any tightness or tension in the legs. Okay, I keep that connection with my client as I walk around, and then I love to transfer up. Don't forget about the medial thigh and the adductors. Always an area that we're hesitant to work as newer therapists, so I can't tell you how important it is to work the adductors. I like to stand kind of up body and I move up this way. And I'm doing that exact same stroke that I was just doing from the opposite side, where I'm kind of doing that alternating, pushing with the heel, pulling with the fingers, creating that nice S stroke. A lot of tension, especially if there's groin tension, even low back. We can get really tight adductors in here, depending on positions that we sit at our desk. Especially if you ever sit with like one leg up on a chair, the adductors get shortened and tightened really fast. And they hold a lot of tension in there. So it's nice to not leave out that portion of the leg. And the sheet's the boundary, right? So that's why you have that diaper drape. You're not going underneath the sheet, and that's nice and secure on your client so they know where your massage is stopping. Now I'm going to transfer my work down to the low leg, in and around the patella. I love to just do some nice work in here. You can do, we coined it the washing machine stroke. You just kind of come around like the washing machine, right, back and forth. Can even do a nice crossover. Again, that's just the S stroke because of the S that it's creating in the tissue. Really nice to get right on that ischial tuberosity, and you can get into the pes serene, really nice attachments points, which is some gentle compression. I'm kind of pushing right up and into the base of the patella. And then I like to get into some spreading. I have to be kind of gentle. My client has a really bad bruise from a low bike fall, so I'm going to be really gentle in and around that lateral tibial area into the peroneals. But I'm coming in and I'm just spreading this way, and then I'm going to take this thumb and brace it this way, just kind of like Cassandra was teaching you. This can be the tool, but the pressure and the force is going to come from this hand bracing this. And again, no loser thumbs, only winner thumbs. So as I come in and just do that nice spreading. Is this pressure okay? Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to come in, I'm going to use my tool, so my thumb is in this direction. It is not like this, it's like this. You guys can see the difference, okay? So I'm going to come right on that lateral side of the tibia. This hand is going to come right over the top of that. And I'm just going to gently go right into that lateral tibial space to get tibialis anterior. You can even go a lot slower than this, but it can be a really nice release in here. Runners, people that are on their feet all the time. And then I'm going to come right into this space, and I'm literally going like this. I'm coming down with the thumb, down with the thumb. So this is the tibia right here. I'm coming just down along that lateral side. Again, I'm going to be really gentle with him on this stroke right here, but I'm just kind of coming down. So I'm going medial to lateral, starting at that tibia. And then you can do some nice work in and around the ankle. Lateral and medial malleoli. If you want to get into some really good footwork, I highly recommend Elisa's foot reflexology class coming up in the beginning of June, or taking it again in the next time that it's offered next year. And then I just love to do a nice complete stroke to complete the whole leg. So just to let you know, before I redrape my client's leg, which I normally would, one of the reasons to give this excess of sheet right in here is if I want to ever secure, you can go ahead and just relax your leg, thank you. I'll go ahead and actually have my client secure his own drape. So I'm actually going to take this part of the drape and this part of the drape, and I'm going to tie them together right here. And then I'm going to ask you to just go ahead and hold that right here. Perfect. Right? So now, if I wanted to securely lift my client, say into a stretch, Notice that right here, all this sheet is now creating a barrier. So there's no way for any visibility to be in there. So I could secure and just come in. I'm gonna be really gentle with him. I'm not actually gonna do a lot because of that kind of big bone bruise in there, but I can just do some gentle flexion. Is this okay? And I can just kind of bring him into a really nice stretch if I wanted. You guys will learn more about that in massage too, and in future classes if you decide to take any second level classes, which hopefully you do. You feeling a little stretch in there? It's okay on the knee? A little bit of nice gentle movement, and again, the drape is nice and secure. He's in control of it. And then I kind of gently set the leg back down. Thank you. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and redrape the top, and then I would come out just like I normally would. Nice and gentle, few little gentle pulls of the sheet, and redrape. So again, just continue to practice over and over with that diaper drape and the tuck drape to get really comfortable. And the big key thing is make sure that you're pulling the bottom of the sheet from the drape up and at a diagonal, and make sure that you really bring that leg drape all the way up to that greater trochanter and even into the ASIS, and tuck into the low back and not the hip. All right, keep practicing.